From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production, the NFL Bet Exchange, hosted by my man, Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the Don of Cape Cod, Jeff Dawson.
What's up, world? It is time for the NFL Bet Exchange, and I am your host, the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and to the right of me, to the left of me, to the right of me, on the East Coast, but he's in Circa, he's at the beautiful Circa, the man himself, the Don of Cape Cod, Mr. Jeff Dawson. Jeff, how you doing? How's everything going?
Doing good. You know, we're a month in, the quarter pole plus a game this year. Excited for week 5. A lot more data to sift through. Our first losing week last week, but for the year we're killing it. We're right around 63% with the NFL Bet Exchange. Tough numbers to stay afloat with, but we're excited and we're up for the challenge.
And none of this is make believe, y'all. Y'all can run back every show. All this stuff is on paper and noted and duly noted. Okay, we don't play make believe. We don't play with Mickey Mouse money over here on our side. Okay, we don't play. Do you believe in magic? All right. Now we talk about having bad weeks. I went 5-11 last week. Bad choices by me. I was a victim of walking with the public with the Saints and the Titans. Also was a victim of oversight with the Panthers as well too. So hey, it is what it is. And then also a victim of the Falcons not being able to finish a game ever. Seriously. If the Falcons are up 2 points with 2 minutes left to go in the game, just know that they're going to lose. That just seems like that's the new thing with the Falcons now. And then, pretty much I was trying to be cute with the Broncos, but that didn't work out either. I think Teddy B's out this week as well too. So, hey, it is what it is. But I went 5-11. Jeff went 7-9. He did much better because he was smart. He actually took the Giants last week, and he took the Colts as well too, so he was able to factor in and not finish. Finish up 7-9. That's not as bad as my 5-11 though. I don't like double-digit loss weeks, so hey, I gotta be better this week. I gotta be better. So for me to be better this week, let's go ahead and start with our Thursday night football game. And our Thursday night football game is gonna be this. It's gonna be the Seattle Seahawks hosting the LA Rams. And as you guys can see, this is Thursday night football. We have ourselves the Rams coming in here minus 145. Seahawks are plus 120 coming into this game. And this looks like this is going to be one of those. This is going to be the best game of the year when it comes to TNF and everything like that, because most of their matchups have kind of been like, whatever, except for week 1 with the Cowboys and the Buccaneers, which was the week 1 opener. But the last 3 matchups were kind of blase. Last week's matchup was very good, but the way it looked on paper, you kind of didn't care for it. And the week prior to that, nobody really wants to watch the Texans play any type of football this season. So it is what it is. And then the Giants-Redskins played a hell of a game. So what do I expect? I expect the Rams to try to bounce back in 3 days, but I think I like Seattle a bit more here in this spot, because I think that Seattle looked really good against San Francisco, a team that has a really tough defense and is really paid to be the winner of this division of the NFC West. A lot of people feel the 49ers are the best team here, but what we all know now, the Cardinals are the top dog in the clubhouse right now. So they're having about a 2-week we're all playing each other situation right now too, Jeff, in the division. So this is good early in the year. But all in all, what I see here, I see 2 of the top quarterbacks coming in here. Matt Stafford, 4th in the league right now, absolutely killing it. Then you got Russell with the 129.9 QBR as well too. So this is a matchup of 2 elite quarterbacks with 2 teams that are upper echelon in the NFL as well too. So what I like here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go out on a limb and say this, Jeff. I'm going to go ahead and take the Seahawks with the plus 120 in this spot. And I think the Seahawks should be good in this spot as well too. That's why I'm banking on them really hard here, and I think that they should be very, very good when it all comes down to it. Jeff, what are you thinking here?
Well, you got two teams, two different trends. You got McVay, an amazing record coming off a loss, and you got Russell Wilson, 8-2 at home as a home dog. 3 days, like you said, quick turnaround. Tough game to judge, tough game to call. Right now Vegas has this right around 28-26. I know this. Seattle has a hard time on defense this year, and their offense has been there's been no kind of progression. It's in Russ we trust. They're starting to get a little juice from Alex Collins. Carson's banged up, and on the other side, our Rams team that just got blitzed and gave up over 200 yards to Kyler Murray last week. A tough game to gauge. I'm with you here. I'm going to take the bounce back as well in regards to the Seahawks got the divisional win on the road last week. A game where Russ and the 12th man come into play. It might be who has the ball last, but we're taking the Seahawks plus the 2 here, Pops.
And I'm just going off the history of Matt Stafford against Seattle. He's done well against them, but it seems like games have always went to the left as well, too, when he's played against them as well, too, especially in Seattle. And I'm just looking at this one in a sense to say that I think that the Rams need a little bit of controversy, a little bit of drama here for a team that feels that they're one of the best in the NFL. And I think that everybody got a little bit ahead of themselves with the Rams because of what they saw the first 3 weeks. And then I was at the game and I saw a very, very flat team. And I don't know how you can get charged back up in 3 days. You know what I mean, Jeff? So that's why I really like Seattle here, because they had to really come back against a very tough team. And I think that they're just going to bring I think that they're going to bring the wood to the Rams on Thursday tonight, and that's it, and that's all. That's exactly how I'm feeling in this spot, Jeff. So as we move forward, let's go ahead and get into our next game, and that's going to be the UK game, the Falcons and the Jets. This would be a good one as well, too. And we have ourselves a plus 135 Jets team, cocky this week. Plus 135 this week, Jeff. First time they haven't been a plus 200 all season, really. So they're coming in here plus 135. Falcons, their heaviest favorite of the year, being minus 160, being a -3 as well too on the spread over under 46. This is a very early game, Jeff. This is 9:30 your time, 6:30 my time. So you get the pleasure of what I get every Sunday of starting your day off with a game in the morning. But I know Jeff ain't gonna watch that game. Jeff is doing it. Yeah, he's gonna be doing other stuff. So with this one right here, what I like the most is that you got a Falcons team that has some confidence to them now. They played well the last 2 weeks of the season, even though they played the last 2 weeks very well. I said of the season, but they played the last 2 weeks very well after starting the season off 0-3. And they didn't look good in the beginning either, Jeff. Like they didn't actually start off 0-2. I'm sorry. And so pretty much they didn't look good the first 2 weeks of the season. They got beat 32-6, then they got beat 48-25. Then they come back around and they get a gutsy win over a very, at the time we felt was a very lowly Giants team, but it just seems like that, when you got the ball last, you're going to wind up doing big things if you're Matt Ryan against a team that's very suspect like the Giants. So that's why, you come out with a real, good victory and everything like that. Then last week, they played a hell of a game, but came up short against the Washington football team at home. And now they get to fly out here to the UK and host this game as well, too, because they're not the road team here. So, it's good to get out the friendly confines of the beautiful Mercedes-Benz Stadium, because I just can't believe a team plays in a stadium that nice and really just can't get over the hump. But it's like the early Georgia Dome days as well too. They weren't that great when the Georgia Dome was first opened as well too. So, what I look at when I see this, I say to myself, the Falcons should be really good in this spot. I think Riley will be a main target here. And I think that they'll get a lot of help from everybody in this receiver core as well too. And I expect a big day from the high end tight end as well too, Jeff. I think that Big Mike should be pretty good in this spot as well too, because pretty much Pitts is the type of guy where he can expose some things here against the Jets. So I like the Falcons in this spot. I like the Falcons to win in this spot, but I can't trust the Falcons to do anything but try to, pretty much win the game. Because if we're talking about covering, it might be a little issue with that, with them only winning by 1 and 2 points. So I'm gonna spend a little extra money and take them on the money line, Jeff, with the minus 160. How you feeling here, sir?
The Jets, a sneaky team. When we hosted the show last week, I was on the Titans, but in comes no Julio, in comes no AJ Brown, both questionable again. Love the effort that the Jets put forth. Also, I like where they're going. Listen, they're a bad team. We get that part, man, but they were tackling hard. They wanted that game. Now they're traveling to the London for an early start. And it's a game where, you know what? We're going to grab the points. We bought the hook to 3.5 with the Jets here. If this game is close, hopefully it stands within a field goal. This comes down to the QB here. Wilson can't have 3 picks. They got to get that run game going. They got to tackle well like they did and keep it close early and see what happens in the second half. But we're grabbing the points, 3.5 with the Jets and praying here, Pops.
And here goes for people who are trying to back the Jets as well too. I know I'm on Atlanta, but I wanted to just give out stats because we're here to give information. You know what I mean? We're not signed by contracts with these teams and everything to give them out to you. You know what I mean? But that's just how we feel. But this is what I see right now, Jeff. You have a Jets team that's 13th, that has 13 sacks on the season. That's good for 4th in the NFL. That's something that the Falcons need to have their heads up for, because Matt Ryan has been getting sacked a lot this season. If they can get pressure onto the quarterback, the Jets could be really good this week as well too. And I'm just saying this because I feel like everybody should expect under this week in London. So there it is. There it is. All right, we move on and let's talk about the Packers at the Bengals. And just let me give you guys a quick note. The Bengals have actually won the last 3 out of 4 of these games against the Packers as well too. They only play each other every 4 years. The Packers were able to get a win over them, but it was a very, it was a close win. But the last 3 times before that, the Bengals had their way with them, and they were able to beat them the last time they played in Cincinnati as well too. So we got the Bengals coming in here as a plus 130, plus 3, and over under 50. You got the Packers or a minus 155, and I feel like the Bengals aren't getting enough respect, Jeff. To be honest with you, this team is playing really good football right now. They're 3-1, and it is no fluke that they're 3-1 right now. They're 3-1 because they've picked up the momentum that they had from last year at the end of the year after they lost Burrow and everything like that. And actually right before Burrow got hurt. Now, their best stat that they have right now is getting to the quarterback. They're 7th in that category with 11, and then they have 3 picks on the year as well too. Now, the Packers have done a good job protecting Rodgers this year, so that kind of cancels itself out. Now, what factors in that makes the Bengals really good here in this game is the Bengals defense. The Bengals defense is not giving up many points at all, Jeff, to be honest with you. They're actually doing a damn good job when it all comes down to it. This team is looking to, pretty much get themselves right where they need to be. They're only giving up about 19 points a game. And I think their game that they gave up the most points probably was last week when they gave up 21 to they gave up 24 to the Vikings. But it seems like they get better and better at it every week. Now, scoring wise, they're only getting 23 a game, but I still think that that's adequate enough for this spot right here because the Packers do not have a very good defense. But the Packers looking good after not showing up as everybody said the first week of the season everybody felt like. And, they've been much better since then. They haven't really had a close game but the San Francisco game, but they've still won 3 in a row. But I think at the end of the day, the Bengals have what it takes to pull off I wouldn't call it a monster upset, but I would say a mild upset. But what I'm going to do here is take the spread here, the plus 3.5, because I'm going to bite off Jeff, spend an extra 10 cents, give myself the 3.5, because this should be a solid bet for Sunday. One of the better bets for Sunday as well, too, because Green Bay is not going to come into this game and dominate the Bengals. I'm just letting you know that right now. The Bengals are a team that is no pushover. Even when they got down against Chicago, they still fought to come back. So, this team is different this year. So what are your thoughts, Jeff?
Reminds me of opening day when Minnesota came into town and they were 3.5 point favorites, and it went to overtime and the Bengals won outright. Bengals get the extra 10 days off. Hopefully T. Higgins will be back. I don't think Gilmore will be playing for the Packers yet. I did the same thing. We bought the extra hook with the 3.5. Expect a close game. Shut down Devontae Adams, okay? And then keep Aaron Jones in check, and you got a great shot. Again, Burrows can't go into this game try to out-gunsling Rodgers, okay? Just take what they give you, keep the ball in play, and as the dog is barking, a live dog here. So we're taking the Bengals, bought the hook plus 3.5.
Hey, and that was on perfect timing too. Thank you. She's the absolute best. You guys just know that too. She loves her papa. Even though I don't like calling dogs when people father and daughter and father and son and stuff like that. I think it's kind of weird myself, but people still love that stuff, Jeff. From what I remember when I was a kid, it used to be the master and the pet. It wasn't my child. Hey, it's getting bad, Jeff. I think I one time I was at the mall, saw somebody with the dog on the chest. How you have the baby on your chest, they had the little dog on their chest. I just said, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous, seriously. And I saw a dog that was probably a dog you could probably put in your pocket, literally running around the airport, and nobody wanted to pick it up because everybody was like, it's so cute. All right, I'm getting sidetracked. Let me move on. And here goes the Lions at the Vikings. This is the basement bowl somewhat in the NFC North, but really not, because you know what? Minnesota will probably be much better as we move along this season. They actually have had one of the tougher schedules to start the season. Come on, man. You have the Bengals 3-1. You have the Cardinals 4-0. Then you had the Seahawks, who are 2-2. That's the worst record that you went against. And then you got the Browns, who are 3-1. So when you look at who they played against some tough teams. So, you can give the Vikings that credit in regard. And I feel like the Vikings know that they still have a big shot at their division as well, too. Green Bay is not going to coast to the NFC North Championship this year. I just can feel that fact. They're looking good right now. Okay, everybody, they're looking great. But the schedule hasn't really opened up yet for them to really give us the full size of what the Packers are going to be. But the way the Vikings have hung tough in every single game, the Vikings have not been blown away in those 3 losses either, Jeff. They lose opening day by 3. They lose their second game by 1. And then last week they lose by 4 to the Browns. So these are if you turn around, if certain plays get made, this team easily can be 4-0 right now. So I think they absolutely crush the Lions, because I don't trust anything the Lions are doing. And I'm going to give you a 30-second reason why. Dan Campbell is by far the worst head coach I've ever seen in the NFL. Other than Rich Kotite level is like the ultimate level. I think that he's over Rich Kotite, how bad he is at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Just bad play calling, silly faces on the sideline. And I think they need to put this guy back to being a tight end coach. Maybe not fire him, just demote him, because Aaron Glenn would be better being the head coach of this team. So my choice is not hard this week, Jeff. Give me the Vikings with the -7.5. And you know me, Jeff, I hate -7.5, but I'm going to take it this week because I feel like the Vikings win this game by 10 or better. What are your thoughts?
Again, when the Jets start 0-11 against the spread, the Lions are right there with them. This game makes 0 sense. Been backing the Lions for a while. Again, laid an egg early in Chicago last week. Now another divisional foe. They were only getting 2.5 or 3 last week. Now it's up to 7.5. Absolutely zero rhyme or reason behind this play, other than I think that the Vikings will end up being a big public play. We took the Lions plus 7.5. It's a popcorn game. Do not get heavily invested on this side if you're backing the Lions. You're just hoping that Goff gets into some kind of rhythm. They use the dynamic duo of Jamal Williams and Swift to play a little keep away, keep Jefferson in tow, keep Thielen in tow, Conklin in tow, Dalvin Cook in tow, and pray. But we grabbed the 7.5, and listen, it's the stench of the week, but we're going to take the dog and pray.
Man, and you know what? For all our bettors out there, yes, the Lions are on 4 in the year, but they are 2-2 against the spread.
Correct.
Because we have to remember the late push up with San Francisco, because a lot of us had them at 8, but then a lot of people got them at 9.5 by kickoff. So we got to count what it was at kickoff. So
and they did the same.
They are 2-2.
They did the same thing against the Ravens. It took a 66-yarder by Tucker for that game as well.
Right.
So you'll know early if they're in. If they're down by double digits, it's one that you just change the channel. But you're hoping that you're on. You got the ball with an opportunity late in the game there. That's all.
Right. And see, I think this is what we really want to say. Lions are better at home than they are on the road. They've been absolutely terrible in both road games. They got beat by double digits in both, and both of them were divisional games as well too. So this is number 3 divisional game on the road. So it looks like everything is warming up for a good good old fashioned butt whooping. So we'll see how it goes, see how it shakes out. Hopefully the game works out. But I know why Jeff is on the Lions, because Mr. Goff has had some success against the Vikings in the past, like some good success against them in the past as well too. But we know that he doesn't have Aaron Donald on the other side as well either. So hey, it is what it is. We'll be right back with the second quarter of the show. So you guys stay tuned. This is the NFL Bet Exchange with your host, the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the Don of Cape Cod, Jeff Dawson. We will be right back.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners, and I'll have another in Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune into Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we're back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, live with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the Don of Cape Cod, Mr. Jeff Dawson. Let's go ahead and jump into our next game, which is another fun game. This is going to be the Steelers and the Broncos, and the Steelers and the Broncos coming into this game, going 2 different directions right now, too, Jeff. You got a Broncos team that's 3-1 coming into this game. Steelers are 1-3, and a lot of people were surprised by that. When you look at the matchup, the last 5 times these teams played since 2000, and this is since 2012, the Broncos actually own the tiebreaker. They've won 3 out of 5 against the Steelers, and they've actually but these games were all, but those wins all were in Denver though. They've lost the last 2 times here in Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh does have a little bit of an advantage here in this spot, but I still think to myself that this one right here is going to wind up being a game that a lot of people get nearsighted in, and they really think that, you know, they want you to bet against the Steelers this week. That's how I feel, because now everybody's starting to say the same thing me and you said last year. Roethlisberger is old. He needs to go home. He needs to retire. But that wasn't the vibes last year, huh, Jeff, when they were like, oh, he still got it. He should stick around when they went 12-0 to start the season off. No, it was always Ben need to go home situation, because at the end of the day, they were just kind of playing off the defenses, off what the defense was doing. You know what I mean? So when you look at this situation, you look at everything, everybody's going to want to bet against the Steelers this week. They got their mind made up when it comes to the Steelers. Now, one thing that does kind of scare me a little bit, if it's backing the Steelers, is that you got a Broncos team that's 7th in the league with 4 interceptions. And I would say this right now. They're not talking about him a lot, but Pat Surtain's kid is an absolute monster, Jeff. Pat Surtain Jr., he's much better than his father. And I hate to say that, because his father was pretty decent in Miami, but his dad wasn't as good as he is. And I look at this, everything kind of works in the Broncos' favor when it comes to the key parts of this, but I just feel like they come up short here, Jeff. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and do this here in this spot. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the Steelers this week, and I'm going to take a big gulp when I do it too, because this is a tough spot. Because the Steelers are not trustworthy anymore. Jeff, thoughts?
Steelers, since the second half of the first game against Buffalo, have been putrid. I watched Big Ben at length last week against the Packers, and wide open guys. Juju for 2 touchdowns, couldn't hit him. He's got no touch. When he's got to get some touch, he airmails it to the left or right. When he's got to zip it in, he's throwing it over their heads. And this is going back since they were 11-0 last year. And so there was a reverse line movement. Denver opened up 1.5. Now Pittsburgh's -1. I think that's all because of Teddy Bridgewater. We did the same thing, Pops. We're going to just follow the move because we're assuming locks in, not Teddy. This is a gut check for not just the Steelers, but Mike Tomlin and the whole front office here. This is must win. If they don't win, their season's over with, then bring in Haskins. Haskins going to give them a better opportunity, and also lets them see what they have, and do they got to get into the drafting a quarterback next year. So we're on the Steelers, same thing, money line -120. I think you're going to see a lot of Najee Harris, and when they bring in the 8 in the box, you got to start hitting Juju. Is Deontay Johnson playing? They're banged up in a couple other spots. Maybe a touchdown from the tight end Pat. Who knows? Defense here. Steelers in a close one.
And just peep this, Jeff. Since they went 11-0 last year, this is including the playoffs last year as well too. Their last 10 games since that point, they are 2-8. Putrid, absolutely putrid, brother. So there goes the shit. The writing's on the wall already, Jeff. When it comes to the Steelers, we don't have to even go that much further into it, because me and you both know the writing's on the wall, Pittsburgh. Their writing is on the wall. All right, so we move on to our next game, and it's going to be a battle of South Florida, and it's going to be the Dolphins and the Bucks. And then, we got the Bucks coming into this game, big favorite. Dolphins, one of the bigger dogs of the week as well, 10.5 point spread. over under a 48 here. Dolphins are not looking as good as they were advertised, Jeff. There were a lot of people who were like, Brian Flores is going to have this team playing in a different situation. Is going to have this team looking like the Patriots. Da, 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 da. Look, just because a guy can yell real good at the team doesn't mean that the team is good, okay? Just because he makes decisions that you like, that doesn't mean that he's a good coach. I think that he's a guy that probably might have been asked to come in and do a job a little bit sooner than he was ready for. Because last year looked good, Jeff. Last year looked really good. And the year before that looked good too because they didn't have expectations those 2 seasons. Now they are a team playing with expectations, and it seems like this happens to every single guy who's coached Miami since Don Shula retired, that they run into this third season and everything kind of falls apart. Well, Nick Saban was able to escape before he ran into that situation. But you know what I'm talking about. Dave Wannstedt, these guys, you know what I mean? They looked really good in the beginning, and then things just fall apart. And I think that Miami is very overrated. They know where they messed up at. Jeff, me and you both agreed that Tua would have been better off in San Diego because San Diego would have never, in LA with the Chargers, because the Chargers would have never forced themselves to throw him in there. Now, Justin Herbert was a ready-made product from day one. He fit the Dolphins much better, but that's old news now. So now the Dolphins have to deal with the reality that they didn't draft well out with the abundance of picks that they had. They thought they had a monster come up, but if you don't draft well, it doesn't matter, right, Jeff? So at the end of the day, that's where the Dolphins are at. And I'm talking really bad about them, but knowing what I'm about to do with the Dolphins right now, I know everybody's going to be like, Pop, but you just railed into them. Well, with this, what I'm thinking we get some defense here. Tom and crew had their 30 point a game streak snapped last week. Nobody talked about that. The Patriots snapped a pretty consistent record because the team is used to scoring 30 points a game. This week, they don't score 30 points again. What happens is they wind up, I don't say the Bucs lose the game, but this is what happens here. The Dolphins play them down to a bone. They grind in this one, lose the game by a touchdown or less. That's what I'm thinking here. So I'm taking the Dolphins with the plus 10.5. Jeff, what you thinking? And you smiling at me too.
Well, no, because that makes the most perfect sense. It really does. We've been on that Dolphin train. We had them last week. They've been okay for us. We had them opening week against the Pats. We covered against the Raiders. The Colts last week dismantled them, I thought. The question is, which Bucs team shows up? Tom was not good on Sunday. It's a game where he might want to get this thing cranked up. We bought the hook. We took the Bucs -10. But listen, I have no problem with anyone back in Miami here. It's more of a save face game for them. It's in the NFL especially, it's not just any given Sunday, but the public remembers what they saw last. And last week was putrid for the Dolphins, and the Bucs in a hard-fought rain game where all the pressure was on Tom. They found a way to win. But with that being said, we're going to go the other way here. We bought the hook -10. Bucs hope that they win by 13 or better. Obviously just 11. But I think the defense, Miami's having a hard time offensively with Brissett. They're not getting a lot of downfield play. You can't run on the Bucs. So we're hoping it's early and often, Tom, and the Bucs -10 on Sunday.
Well, that sounds good to me because that sounds real good to me because the Bucs are going to be a heavy play because everybody feels they can win by 2 touchdowns or better. But the Dolphins, one thing I do like about the Dolphins, the defense. The defense is there, and the defense will show up on Sunday. They won't give up 30 points either. And you know what? It's only the offense to kind of put some things together and try to give them a chance. And this is my one last thing about the Dolphins as well, too. The Dolphins have played well in every odd week of the season. Okay, week 1, they played well. Week 3, they played well. Week 5, we will see. Week 2 and 4, they got absolutely crushed. And these were 2 home games as well, too. So they're back on the road. We'll see how it goes. I think they like the road a little bit more than they like the home. So, yeah, pretty much. See, these are the little things that we talk about. You know what I mean? If you go on NFL Network right now, all they're going to think about is, well, Tom Brady ate some avocado toast this morning, and then last night he had some avocado ice cream as well, too. And he kissed his kids good night as well, too. They don't know how boring Tom Brady truly is in, like, real life. You know what I mean? Tom Brady, like, the things he even talks about doing, I'll be like, I'm not up for that, Tom. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's up for that, Tom. What is wrong with you? All right. So we move on. Saints in Washington. This is a lot of people would probably try to consider this a trap spot. I don't think it's a trap, though, Jeff. I think that this one is right. The writing is on the wall in this one. Jameis Winston is a week-by-week quarterback. 1 week he'll be stellar, looking like a Pro Bowler. The next week he'll be looking like a third stringer. So we just have to put that together with Jameis. And now I know Jameson's crew, they did better. They did well last week. They lost in overtime. It was kind of a coincidence how they lost. But all in all, though, you really can't lose games like that either, Jeff. So pretty much my thing is this week the Saints should bounce back in this spot because Washington hasn't proved to be consistent enough on the defensive end. I'm very disappointed in Washington's defense. It seems week in and week out, we keep saying, well, they'll be better. And they haven't been better. They're giving up 30 points a game. That's because they don't have a good back end. And it's because Chase Young, their stellar pass rusher, isn't getting home to the quarterback. It's that simple. But that's because he's in his second year and they figured out how to block him. And sometimes when guys get into their second year and they were stellar in their first year, they have to make the adjustments. And sometimes it takes about 4 or 5 games to make those adjustments. Now, does he make the adjustment this Sunday? We'll have to see. But all in all, though, from what I'm seeing here, Jeff, I think that we're on to something here good with the Saints. That's why I'm going to take the Saints with the minus 125 on the money line here. And I think that we're good to go on this spot, to be honest with you. So how are you feeling here? And I know that you're loving the kid Heineke too.
Yeah, you just talked about it a few minutes ago, how the Dolphins have played better on the road every other week. The Saints are the perfect example. We're 4-0 on Saint games. Opening week, dismantled the Packers. Then they go to the Carolina, they lose. Then they come to New England and win. And then we were on the other side of them last week where, they just didn't show up. And so this is a perfect on week for Jameis. On the other side, Heineke has been great. He really has. He's a young gunslinger. It's the defense that has let this down. So I don't think this will be a box-to-wire Saints game. I think the defense wakes up. And if we have the bad Jameis, this is could be a layup for Washington. But we're following your lead here, Pops. We're taking the Saints money line. We're taking them on the good Jameis week, the week where they have been winning versus the week that they have been losing. So go Saints and who dat?
And here goes another good stat to know. The Saints are second in the league with 7 interceptions this year. And it's so crazy who they're second to, too. I would never would have gave it to them, but the Cowboys are the number 1 team when it comes to getting picks. And it's all because of Travion Diggs. Guy got 5 interceptions already in 4 weeks. Night Train Lane, look out. Richard Sherman, look out. Make room for Travion. Travion is almost a receiver out there on the defensive side. Seriously. Big guy taking advantage of his size. That's what I like. I like when guys take advantage of their size. We got way too many guys in the NFL that play small. When you big, play big. That's what I say. All right, so there it is. Saints, me and Jeff both on the same thing when it comes down to it. And we move on to are the Eagles at the Panthers. This is going to be a very, very split bag, in my opinion, Jeff, when it comes down to it. We're going to have a lot of people that are in love with we're going to have a lot of people that are in love with the Eagles this week, and we're going to have a lot of people that are going to be in love with the Panthers this week. I think that the Panthers come into this game with new confidence because they just picked up one of the best cornerbacks in the league in Stephon Gilmore. And, they didn't have to give up anything but a 6th-round pick. But it was funny how they were already ready to say that maybe Gilmore's already washed up. That's why the Patriots are getting rid of him. No, the Patriots got rid of him because the Patriots are a money ball team. They're a team that looks at the salary cap very closely, and they try to make sure that when they invest in a guy that it's going to be worth the investment. I've never seen the Patriots extend somebody and they be a bad player. And I'm not saying that Gilmore was going to be a bad player, but they looked at it. But Jeff, you and I both know they looked at the years he's been in the league and what was his probably best point in the league. And that was probably a few years ago when he won Defensive Player of the Year for the Patriots when they were still a significant a significant team in the NFL. Now, as the Patriots rebuild and move forward, the guy like Stephon Gilmore doesn't fit into your plans because he's a high-end cornerback, but you guys aren't playing high-end football. So it just doesn't fit. And you know that he's getting up there in age, so he's a corner. And you know what? The Patriots have always been like this with defensive backs. If they want to get paid, then they might have to go somewhere else to get paid. You know what I mean? Because we can go get one off the street. But all in all, my point being is this. The Carolina Panthers defense is by far one of the strongest in the league. Yes, they gave up season-high 36 to the Cowboys on Sunday, but let's all understand that the Cowboys have a uber offense. They're going to do that to a lot of defenses in the NFL. But I think if you're a basic team that needs to lead like the Eagles, you're in trouble against a team like the Panthers, especially with the Panthers being at home as well, too. And the Panthers have been absolutely dominant at home as well, too, Jeff. Let's go ahead and use this. 19-14 opening week, 26-7 week 3 at home. So pretty much they haven't even given up 20 points at home yet, and they are looking good. So they got a 21 to 55 difference at home. So that's 34 points, Jeff. So that means they're beating teams by 17 points at home this year. So pretty much this game is the writing's on the wall for me, Mr. Dawson. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the Panthers in this spot with the -4.
Pops, I'm looking at the numbers right now, and 67% of the bets are all on the Panthers. But 73% of the money's coming in on Philly. I look at this game in another way. I think it's a perfect bounce back spot for the Eagles. The last 2 weeks, they faced Dak Prescott on Monday night, and then they just faced Mahomes. Listen, Darnold leads the NFL in rushing touchdowns. He's got 5. I think this is a great spot for Philly. I think Darnold through the air won't pick them apart. I look for a bounce back effort from this defense finally. And I think Hurts is going to be able to move the ball. Yes. Panthers have a great defense. But if he does not throw the picks and wins this turnover battle, I think they got a shot here. We took them with the points here, Pops. We got them plus the 4, but I think they're a real live dog here too. And I didn't go out and take the money line, but anyone listening here, a little beer and pizza money on the money line. I think they're as live as they come today. And as we are broadcasting and taping, I just wanted to let everyone know that London game, Calvin Ridley is now out due to personal problems, and also Russell Gage due to ankle problems. So it's going to be the Kyle Pitts show and maybe the Cordarrelle Patterson show. I don't know, but keep an eye on that. That line's dropping as we speak. But yeah, Ridley staying home. I don't know why. Engaged because of the ankle. So keep an eye on that, Pops.
So then I think Chusis, whatever his name is, 17, should be pretty good.
Yeah.
He should be good in that spot. But all in all, though, with that, we're going to go ahead and take another commercial break. And when we get back, we're going to break down some more games. And then we'll be getting into these late games as well, too. So you guys stay tuned. This is the NFL Bet Exchange with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the Don of K. Cod himself, Mr. Jeff Dawson.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash, and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, we're back. And this is the NFL Bet Exchange with your host, the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper in the Don of Cape Cod, Mr. Jeff Dawson. So let's go ahead and we rolling, Jeff. We rolling, brother. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this one. And this one right here has all the ramifications of you know what time it is. So pretty much we got Jacksonville. And me and Jeff don't do the politics, so we're not going to sit here and go through what was said to him and the owner and all this other stuff. What I feel what's going to happen is that this is going to motivate Urban to be a really, really, really good Sunday in the play calling. And I think that he knows that he has to win this team over. Before that issue even occurred, he still didn't have the locker room with him 100%. We've been hearing about this since preseason, Jeff, that we're having issues here. A lot of guys don't get the whole college coach mentality. They don't like the college coach mentality, So they're getting to know each other. But this is the first time that Urban Meyer actually inherited a team that was a real loser. Utah wasn't a loser when he showed up in Salt Lake City. Florida definitely wasn't a loser when he showed up in Gainesville. And we all know the Ohio State, that was like the epitome of his whole coaching career from being a guy from Ohio. You know what I mean? That's everything. You know what I mean? Being the coach of Ohio State. So this game right here, he makes up for all the BS and shows that he's a winner, all in all. And you know what, Jeff? I'm going to even go out on a limb here. I'm going to go out on a major limb here, to be honest with you, brother. Go out on a major limb. And I'm going to go ahead, even though this bet is 1-3 this year, it doesn't matter. We're going to pick this thing up very soon. My dog bet of the week. Dog bet of the week. Let's show it again. Dog bet of the week, Jeff. And it's going to be them Jags plus 160, brother. That's where I'm going with this one this week. I like the Jags in this spot this week. I think that they take care of their business. They get a big win over Tennessee, just like they did last year in Jacksonville on opening day.
I don't listen. The Jags plus the 4 is where we're at. I could be on both sides of this game. Don't forget the Titans are coming to this game with egg on their face. I mean, they just got slapped around by the Jets. Now they got to go to Jacksonville. The Urban Meyer situation is really telling in this regards. 0-4. Yeah, you played the Thursday night. You told the team, hey, you had to go. You got grandkids. Everyone take the weekend off. I'll meet you back in Jacksonville. And then he's at a party wearing his Ohio State gear, not the Jags gear. Ohio State's not paying you right now, Urban. The Jags are. and he's still pimping his Ohio State gear, and it's just comical where he's at. And I don't know how the team takes it. I'd be disappointed. I know this. If I'm the head coach of a team, and I've done a lot of coaching, and you have too in my years, and we're 0-4, and this team and this franchise believes in me, I'm going to figure out how we're going to get our first win. I ain't holding back in Ohio to be, at some club and having some young girl grinding on me. It's bad. It's a bad look. I mean, where's your head? And which head are you talking about here, Urban? And so I reluctantly took the Jags. I think they got some pride. I liked what I saw with Lawrence. I liked what I saw with Robinson. So with that said, LaVisca coming on, the defense here is going to have to slow down slow down King Henry. And again, is A.J. Brown playing? Is Julio playing? So hopefully if they do lose, it's by 3 or less. But we're taking the Jags as well, Pops, plus the 4.
And you know why? I feel like I'm benching the Titans this week too, because I felt like they really slighted us, dude. I was like, I think I'm kind of not liking. I liked Variable as a player, but I'm kind of not liking him as a coach, because I think that was very, sometimes these guys know exactly what they're doing. They know that the bettors are all over the game trying to get some stuff. They say, oh, yeah, I don't know what's going on. They know fantasy guys are trying to get their stuff out. Let us know Friday that the guys aren't playing. Don't let us know 15 minutes before the game that they're not suiting up. Okay? That was absolutely irresponsible to me, because you guys have to report these things, but it's okay because the NFL is going to probably mandate them to do that. Now the new word is mandate, when it's not really a rule, but you're going to make it a rule. You know what I mean? We're going to mandate. Let's mandate the coaches to make sure they let us know who ain't going to be in or out of the game. But sometimes they don't know until about 30 minutes before the game. So it's okay. It's okay. But Jeff is going with the Jags on the points. I'm going with the Jags on the money line. Dog better the week. All right, we move on. Come on. Let me get some love. Sheba.
Bell is sleeping right now.
Oh, Bella over there sleep. Long night last night. Watching the Dodger game. I know Bella was going crazy. Bella cast the 1.5 last night, Jeff.
Oh, man. Oh, God. Can you imagine? I won't even go down that road. Can't even go down. You got one chance, a 2-run walk-off, a 3-run walk-off, or a grand slam. 2-out walk.
Unbelievable. Yep. Unbelievable. I said that every better that had 1.5 last night, man, thank you. Every better that had plus 1.5, F you. Don't talk to me. All right. You're crying. I'm not crying. All right. So we move forward. Let's go ahead and talk about these guys are kind of like this is a real version of Big Brother, Little Brother, in my opinion. Because everybody who used to work for the Patriots is like an intern or something, works for the Texans as a high executive now. And how you feeling now about not having Bill O'Brien, Houston? All that trash talk over Bill O'Brien over all these years. Wasn't Bill O'Brien winning games? Wasn't Bill O'Brien getting you to the playoffs? Now you're an absolute joke in the NFL. And I'm going to always stand behind Bill O'Brien, Jeff. You know what I mean? I loved him as a coach, especially when I saw Hard Knocks and saw his actual personality. You guys got to understand what he has to go home to as well, too, and then still be a good head coach. You know what I mean? So, I know a lot of people just always expect everybody to be in the Super Bowl when they win football games, but if you're a consistent winner, you're a consistent winner. Come on, this is how Harbaugh keeps keeping a job at Michigan. And, Bill O'Brien kept this team relevant. That's my whole thing. Now they have to go ahead and reset everything. And people have to understand this is a Texas team that literally might be one of the better expansion teams in their first 20 years, because they've been to the playoffs at least 10 times in that stretch. And a lot of teams in their first 20 years didn't even get to the playoffs twice. You know what I mean? So we do have to look at that accord as well, too. But all in all, though, the Texans are terrible this year. Let's keep it real. They got a rookie at quarterback who wasn't really good in college. Then you got, a team that is mired by injuries. Will Fuller's out. They do have a bright spot in Brandon Cooks being one of the lead wide receivers in the NFL this year. But then the defense is just absolutely atrocious. And I just really felt like the bottom fell out last week, Jeff, when they lost 40-0 with the Bills, Now, week before, okay. You get a win week 1, but damn, yeah, just last game out, that was pathetic. You know what I mean? They didn't do anything. And New England knows that they should not overlook this team. And when Bill Belichick doesn't overlook you, it usually winds up being a pretty good scenario for us bettors, Jeff. So reason being, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to be quick because the Texans games are always going to be quick whenever they're in the group because they're not doing anything for us this year. I'm going to take the Pats with the -9.5. I think the Pats go into Houston and absolutely beat these guys down and then go eat some good brisket afterwards as well, too, and before the game as well.
I get a 59% bets on the Pats, but only 50-50 on the money. Opened at 9, now 9.5. But you're going to start to see a buyback. Pats another offensive lineman out. Their offensive line is going to be real shaky this weekend. And listen, they were able to withstand the Bucs front seven to a certain degree. But I'm going to tell you, Matt got beat up. This is the season for the Pats. They're 1-3. If they ever came back here with a loss, the season's over. I expect a big bounce back. We're going to grin and bear this one, lay the 9.5. Vegas starting to catch up to Houston with some of these numbers. They were 17 last week on the road to maybe the best team in the AFC with the Bills. Now they're 9.5 against a team that's 1-3, Pops. So Vegas is making a statement here. We're going to follow their lead. Pats -0.5. Let's shoot the muskets and let's get the win and let's get back home.
And man, and I'm gonna tell people like this: if you're playing fantasy, you don't want your running back in this game because you don't want to run it back on either one of these teams because boy, oh boy, run game is bad. All right, so we move on, and we have ourselves one of the funniest rivalries in the NFL: the New York Football Giants and the Dallas Cowboys meeting up on a Sunday again. And the game will be on Fox with Joe Buck and Aikman on the call. I already know because it's a 1:00 game. So they're on the call. There's no way Joe Buck and Trey is not going to be on the call for this one. But New York showed up last week. I'm going to give New York their props. But see, we always notice that the Giants do this maybe once every 3 weeks or maybe every 4 weeks, okay? So we got to the 4th week of the season. We saw absolutely no offense from this team week 1. Then week 2, we had offense, but we had a lot of field goals. Week 3, they had to be in a defensive struggle. And then we get into week 4, and Saquon Barkley decides to show up and show out and make one of the biggest plays of his career and help propel this team to a nice victory in New Orleans for the Saints' first game back at home. And I think that factored into them winning the game because I think the Saints came in there with the idea that, we at home, it's the Big Easy. We should go ahead and lay these guys out in the first half, and we'll be over here talking about where we're going to go get some beignets after the game. But that didn't happen, okay? So they wound up losing. So all in all, you have this Giants team that should be able to play real well against the Cowboys. I'm looking at their numbers right now. Now their scoring is they're 21st in that. But points against, they're pretty good, Jeff. They're pretty good. You know what I mean? They're only giving up almost 21 points a game. They're actually and the crazy part about this is they actually are averaging more passing yards per game than the Cowboys. And that's good for 7th in the league. And I'm real hard on Daniel Jones, but he's doing his thing right now. So you have the Cowboys, number 1 in the league, with 8 interceptions. They have 10 takeaways, but 8 interceptions, 5 of them by Travion Diggs, 9th in sacks. See, this is why the Cowboys are dominant here have dominated the last 3 weeks of the season and will look good opening night, is because they have a defense that may not be a defense that gets you off the field and 3 and out, but they're a defense that gets takeaways and they give Dak more opportunities. And when the quarterbacks get more opportunities, that means more points. And that's why the Cowboys have looked so good. They're 4th in the league with 432 yards a game as well, too. They're 4th in the league when it comes to scoring, 31.5 a game as well. So there's a lot of things that set them apart from the Giants, but that doesn't mean that they should be paid as the winner. What I see here is a Giants team doing what they always do to the Cowboys, giving them a tough time in Dallas. If one team in this division comes to Dallas and really messes with the Cowboys' ego, it's the Giants. Why? Because the Giants were the first team that played here in a regular season game and beat the Cowboys on a very overhyped Cowboys night. This is going to be another Cowboy overhype. This could be an upset if it wants to be, but we're just going to be cool here, and I'm going to take the +7 on the Giants here, Jeff, because this is Giants Cowboys, and you don't get blowouts.
The Giants, we're on the Giants last week. Like you said, the 4th week, Barkley's rounding into form. Now we're at the quarter pole and divisional game. Daniel Jones, good game last week. Why? Won the turnover battle. Didn't make mistakes. The Saints were peaking. Now here's a Dallas team that's getting fat at home. They're just rolling. They're rolling. And listen, nothing against them too, but as Skip Bayless and company already wanted to crown them the East champs. And I think on paper, they're the best team. They stay healthy. They should win the East. I'm not saying they shouldn't. But a Giant team that's starting to get a little better. Big win, big win for them last week. We bought the hook. We're getting the insurance here at 7.5. So we expect the Giants to keep it within a touchdown. And again, if Daniel plays like he did last week, hey, listen, I'm not calling the upset, but I might have to wake Bella up here because I think this game's going to be a lot closer than most think. So Giants +7 and a hook from us.
There it is. All right, so we have ourselves another good rivalry game, and this is going to be Arizona and San Francisco. I'm going to let you take the floor for this one, Jeff. Tell me your thoughts first, and then I'm going to go ahead and rebuttal off of you.
What we did here isn't exactly how I'm feeling because I see 2 ways the way this game could go. Listen, the Cards need some respect here. They are the only undefeated team in the NFL. They're coming back home, the Desert Swarm. They got the bookends to put pressure on the quarterback. Listen, Kyler Murray, if he's not the leader in the clubhouse, he's got to be second or third for MVP. Weapons, and more weapons. Now you add the defense. You don't have to worry about the head coach. In comes Trey Lance, as we knew it wasn't if it was going to be when, due to Jimmy G always being hurt. So with that said, the line went from 2.5 to 6, and here, actually 5.5. We bought the hook, took the Cards plus the 6. Listen, the 49ers plus the 6. I apologize. Lance has got to be able to move the ball. They got to keep the defense off the field. They've shown a lot of holes. And listen, this could get ugly early here, Pops. We're hoping that Trey Lance takes a step forward. I think I see a lot of Colin Kaepernick in him right now. Establish Sermon, get Debo involved. You got to get Ayuk involved. He's MIA. I went to go to the supermarket yesterday, and I got a half gallon of milk, and I saw Brandon Ayuk's face on the back of it. I'm like, where you been, pal? Where you been?
Right.
So we bought the hook. Cards Niners +6 and pray here, Pops.
All right, so Jeff, you guys see where he's going with this. He's going with the 6 here. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and piggyback off of Jeff, but I'm not buying the hook because you know what? I actually believe in a San Francisco win this Sunday, Jeff. To be honest with you, last time the 49ers played the Cardinals in Arizona, they got a big upset in that game. Well, it was considered an upset because they weren't going to the playoffs at the time. It was late in the season, and they were making their playoff push and everything like that. The Cardinals. So I'm taking the 49ers with the plus 5.5. And I think that I'm not going to say Trey Lance is going to be really, really good, but I'm going to say this. The defense is going to step it up just a tad bit for them to make sure that they can make life a lot easier for them because I think they figured out a way to keep Murray in check somewhat. The San Francisco 49ers. They have somewhat of there's enough film on him to set up the right defensive game plan. You're 4 games in. And just hear me out, Jeff. We've seen a lot of teams start the season off 4-0 and go lay an absolute egg the moment they go 4-0 and the NFL starts paying attention to them. Now they're getting a little bit of attention, the Cardinals, and I think this week is going to be the week where they get, pretty much they are who we thought they were. You know what I mean? But all in all, this might be the most overlooked 4-0 team I've ever seen because they're the only undefeated team in the league and nobody's talking about them. Everybody's still Tom and what Mahomes and what all these other people are doing right now. Don't worry about it, Jeff. Don't worry, brother. I ain't gonna do him dirty this week. You okay? What you call it? They get all my case because I ain't in love with Mahomes like the rest of the world. All right. We'll be back. This is the Premier Sports Betting Show. Oh, I'm sorry. That'll be in a minute. This is the NFL Betting Exchange with your host, the one on Pop DBICD Primetime Capper, and the man, the Down at Cape Cod himself, Mr. Jeff Dawson. We'll be right back.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, welcome back to the NFL Betting Exchange with your host, the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, and the Don of Cape Cod, Jeff Dawson. So here we are, the Bears going against the Raiders, the most violent fan bases in all of the NFL, going at it this week. Well, I would say these are the most pop culture NFL franchises, if you would ever think of pop culture. Raiders, for sure. Bears, nobody will ever forget the 1985 Bears Super Bowl song. But the Raiders had a great Super Bowl song, too, when they were in L.A. I love that song. We wear the silver, we wear the black. What more can I say? It was much better than the Super Bowl Shuffle. Super Bowl Shuffle was just everybody liked that song because they was really good at the time. You know what I mean? That's when you hear the lyrics to Super Bowl Shuffle, it is not better than Silver and Black. Super Bowl songs. I don't think the Raiders are going to Raiders are the Super Bowl. I think that year.
Why do you got to bring up 85 and bury the Bears? That's what our motto was, and we got buried. Oh, my wallet got buried that day too. Woo!
Man, I know every person knew that was the biggest moment before you got that was the biggest moment before you got Tom and everybody in a situation in the game. I already know. I could just picture how the Northeast looked at that time, Cape Cod and all the Massachusetts and the North and just all the states surrounding it as well too. That the hype that came around the old the Patriots, and the Patriots actually used to play. That's when the Patriots used to play over at the old stadium, right?
That was in
Yeah,
Foxborough. That was the aluminum stadium. You would sit on the aluminum. I mean, this was not the fancy stadium that you have
yeah.
now. And they had to stop the Monday night football games because there would literally be fights in the stands. There would be people peeing in the stadium in the stands. I mean, they were just animals. And there was a live Monday night game. Howard Cosell was going crazy, and they panned off of it and never had another Monday night game there.
Hey, you know what? The LA Raiders ran into the same thing. We'll put them on the road, but we ain't gonna show none of them home games on Monday Night Football. Hey, that sounds like old Ebbets Field too. That's why that's the first thing that Branch Rickey saw that made him say, you know what, maybe Brooklyn might not be the best place for us to be at this time. Ain't enough money over here right now. You know what I mean? I can't be over here with broke people. All right, so let's get into this game. We have the Bears coming in here as a big dog. Raiders coming in here as minus 225 and over under a 44.5, 5.5 point spread. You know what? The Raiders, it's okay that they lost Monday because that game started late. It didn't have great vibes to it. And you know what? The Chargers needed that moment. Monday Night Football, they're at home. They don't get as much attention as is. So it was a good little moment for them. Now they're a part of the pretty much the game of the week, what we're going to talk about next. And the Raiders go home 3-1. The Raiders should feel good about themselves because honestly, a lot of people had the Raiders pegged 1-3 coming out the gate. You know what I mean? Nobody believed that the Raiders could be 3-1 at this point. And then you beat 3 teams that won over 10 games last year. And then you wind up playing the Chargers, a team that you're always going to have close games with because it's you and the Chargers. Chargers and the Raiders are the Hatfields and the McCoys, regardless of anything. And the Raiders have the same issue the Cowboys have. Everybody in your division, you're their biggest rival. Everybody. You're their biggest rival. Everybody feels like they rivalry just a little bit more with you. And the Chargers took heed to that, and they were offended by the Raiders having 70% and 75% of the crowd there as well, too. You know what I mean? And they took advantage of it. They showed how well balanced of a team they are as well, too. The Chargers are very impressive because they might not have a superstar, but they have a lot of adequate players. So that's why that was a good, win for them. But I'm totally damn near skipping off the game. I'm giving the Chargers all these accolades, and we're going to talk about their game next. Raiders, on the other hand, though, I think were too cute Monday night as well, too. The Raiders thought we're coming up in there, oh, we're 3-0. They got the big Mighty Mouse chests out and all that good stuff. And you know what? It just didn't work out the way it was supposed to. Now, them in Vegas, there's some type of situation that gets these guys going at home to where even if they're down a little bit in the game or it seems like they're out of it, they find a way to get in gear in Las Vegas. You know what I mean? And I think that's just the vibes of having a home crowd every Sunday now. And I think that the Golden Knights situation kind of rubbed off on them as well too, Jeff, when you think about it. Golden Knights were very successful at home in the beginning. It led to a Stanley Cup. So I think that the tradition of starting off in your initial year in Vegas, everything is going to work out. It's kind of magical. It's kind of like a stage show in a sense too. Like, let's go watch the Raiders on a Sunday to give us an exciting game. So that's exactly what they did in the first 2 weeks, is give out exciting football games in Vegas. And I expect another exciting game. But this week, though, I think the Raiders handle their business, because the Bears are a team in disarray. You have a quarterback that you have a coach that doesn't like his quarterback. That was proven yesterday. It looked like, it looked like Nagy had lost his puppy or something when he was announcing that yesterday. And it's okay because you're not going to be their coach at the end of the year anyway. But still, the Bears, when your coach doesn't have any confidence in you, it's going to reflect. And I know Laser's going to probably call the plays and all that good stuff, but it's not going to make a difference because they beat up on Detroit of all teams. I think with the Raiders pass rush, the way Crosby gets home, the way Nwekwe gets home, the way that Carl Nassib gets home as well too, that it's going to be damn near the Cleveland game all over again, because the Raiders actually are playing better against the running quarterback. So if he does want to run, he better hold on to that ball pretty tightly, because the Raiders are going to be slapping and trying to strip all game long. And the biggest factor in me taking the Raiders in the spot is David Montgomery being out. David Montgomery is the number one option for that offense, and without him, they don't really stand a chance, in my opinion, Jeff, to be honest with you. So that's why it's not tough to take the Raiders with the 5.5 point spread here as the winner. I know, and this is difficult because the Raiders are not really good as a favorite. They've been good as the dog, or a lowly. The one time that they were the favorite, they didn't cover. They didn't even come close to covering. But I think this weekend they do. Thoughts?
I think Vegas is setting up a pretty good number here, and I think I'm going to bite on it because not that I don't believe in the Raiders, because I do, but in the same token, it is a perfect bounce back spot, and I think the Bears are the perfect team to be playing here, because offensively that the Raiders have been great, and what most has impressed me all year is their front seven. They're putting so much pressure on quarterbacks. Now in comes a rookie quarterback who just got the vote of approval. It's yours the rest of the year. What does he do on the road? What does he do on the big stage? Or should I say, what does he do on the Vegas Strip? The line was 5.5. We took and bought the hook to +6. It's a spot where we're not feeling comfortable, but we see the value at the +6 versus the Raiders having to cover the touchdown. Would I be surprised if the Raiders won by 7, 10, 14? No, I wouldn't at all. But Justin's got to win this turnover battle. I say this a lot because that's what it comes down to in the NFL. Winning the turnover battle, keeping your offense on the field versus your defense in tough spots. Bears +6, bought the hook. Go Justin, go Mooney. Maybe there will be an Allen Robinson sighting. No Montgomery. In comes Williams and A-Bear, Herbert, whatever you want to call him. But close game, the Bears +6 pots.
All right, there it is. Now, let me jump into the game that I was so spiritedly talking about. The other team is I'm almost as bad as a fan that shows up to the game with the wrong jersey. And that happened a lot when we were at the Rams game. I saw about 30 people like, dude, this isn't a Steelers game. Take that home. Take that home. Jeez Louise, man. Respect the game. Wrong game. All right, so we got the Chargers and the Browns. This is the game of the week, Jeff. Do you agree?
Oh, listen, I've been talking about this Brown team for a while. Now you got Baker in a sling / doesn't need surgery, but he's got issues with his arm. Well, good. Throw the ball 15 to 17 times and just run. You won't have to worry. But yes, 2 young quarterbacks, 2 great defenses. Let's play ball.
All right, so this is my thoughts on the game. You got this Browns team coming in here absolutely crushing it on the running side of the ball. But their biggest stats are coming from the pass rush right now. They're 60% on the season when it comes to the win rate at the line. And when Clowney and Garrett are scary, they are scary. They're bringing that old school Derek Thomas, Neil Smith type of pressure. You know what I mean? And when those guys get on that line and they beat the lineman, the quarterback is really in trouble. And Herbert is comfortable when he's able to hold on to the ball for a bit and really, get things going. But I think that the Browns are heavily set up for probably for one of their best performances of the season, because the Chargers, the way things set up with them, they don't really have a deep threat. All the Chargers guys are more guys that are really big and they can out jump you. And they run routes very well. But the way that I saw the Browns' actual secondary last week, the secondary is now fully intact. You got Grant Delpit there, healthy finally, and then you got Greedy Williams as well too, who got a monster pick last week. So these guys are going to be very good. And then Denzel Ward has been. They haven't said enough about Denzel Ward this year. He's played some really good football. And this is me talking about the defensive side of things. And you know what? Shout out to Malcolm Smith, former Super Bowl MVP, who's actually been the top tackler the first few weeks of the season for the Browns as well too. So, they got a lot of things working out for him. But at the end of the day, when you got Nick Chubb getting 15 to 20 on his end, and then you have Hunt getting 10 to 15 carries on his end, these guys will beat you up. They beat you up. And Joe Platino is one of the leaders of beating you up. Now, it's going to be some adjustments to make because Willits is going to be out this week. Wills is most likely, the kid from Bama, will not be playing for a significant period of time. He's been dealing with finally just gave out, finally just went over. So all in all, I think that the Browns should be in good shape. And you know who I expect to have a monster game here this week? Odell Beckham Jr., because he's in LA, and I just feel like he's going to get himself a big, long touchdown here just so he can do himself a little dance, shimmy, shimmy, yah in the NBA, in the end zone. So what I'm going to do here, Jeffy, is I'm going to take the Browns with the money line minus 105. This damn near turned into a Browns broadcast right now. The Browns preview show. You know what I mean? I shouldn't be doing that, but the Browns are just fun. They're fun. They're a fun team to watch. They're a fun team to follow. It is what it is at the end of the day. Jeff, what are your thoughts?
A great game. A game where, again, two young quarterbacks, two good Bozer on one side, Clowney and Garrett on the other side. Listen, I've been tooting my own horn with this Browns team for a while here, and I think it's up to the head coach to say, hey, listen, as this season progresses and the colder weather comes, I don't need Baker to throw it 20, 25, 30 times. I can win with that 17 to 19. Hit OBJ when you need to. Hopefully Landry will be back at some point. You got a decent tight end with Hooper. You got Njoku. You got a defense that is going to put pressure on the quarterbacks on both sides. Tough to go against the Browns. Hey, listen, no problem, people back in the Chargers. Great win last week, Monday night against the Raiders. But this is not the team that they want to be facing on a shorter week. And I like the Browns. I took the +1 just in case. It doesn't matter. I think the Browns win outright. And they're just going to get stronger as the season progresses, Bobs.
And you know what else I'm looking at right now? This team is giving up right now. When you look at it, Jeff, they're not giving up much of anything right now when it comes to points. They're giving up about 15.5 a game. And then to top that off, they got 14 sacks on the year. That's good for second in the league right now. So that's the thing that sets them apart in this game, is that the pass rush should be in Herbert's face all day. And if that does happen, this could be a long, long day for the Chargers and their home crowd as well, too. Well, and just know, Charger fans, you probably won't dominate the seats. It'll probably be a 50-50, 55-45, because there are a lot of Cleveland Browns fans that live in Southern California as well, too. A lot of people from Cleveland came out here, so they moved out here years ago. So be ready for that. and it should be a good game. Jeff also has them +1 Browns. So let's rock and roll. Game of the week from the beautiful SoFi Stadium. We can't wait to take you there too, Jeff.
Absolutely.
Absolute gem. Absolute gem. No bad seat at all. All right, so we move on and we have ourselves the Sunday night football game. Sunday night football game is a possible preview of the AFC divisional game. I'm not going to say championship game yet because the Chiefs ain't in championship position yet, but it could be a divisional game at this point. But we have the Chiefs and the Bills. The Chiefs are hosting the Bills this week as well, too. Bills, hottest team in all of football, but who did you play in the process to be the hottest team in all of football? Now, we thought the Dolphins would be better. They smoked them 35-0. And the Dolphins haven't really recouped from that. Then they came back the next week. They smashed on Washington's elusive defense 43-21. They beat them by 22. Then you bring in the lowly Texans last week. They beat them 40-0. So when you look at it, this situation right here, 40-0, 75. So in 2 out of your 3 games, you beat teams 75-0. Okay, and then you have another where it's so pretty much 116-21 the last 3 weeks, Jeff. That's an absolutely silly number right there. Means that they're literally beating teams by 30 points or better the last few weeks. But 2 out of 3 of these games were at home too, and actually back-to-back home games to be exact. So they're coming into this one with a lot of confidence, but they didn't play anybody before they got to this move right here. The Chiefs, let's keep it real. Browns were a tough out. They got the win. Then they come back the next week, upset City. That game could have went either way. They just blew it in the end. And then, they too many turnovers, lose to the Chargers. Then come back next week and the last week and did exactly what they were supposed to do. Beat down the Eagles. You know what I mean? No ifs, ands, and buts about it. They went in there and they handled their business. Even though the Eagles did jump out to an early lead, it really didn't matter at the end of the day. So pretty much you have this Chiefs team that should be loaded up, ready to roll, go on a nice little win streak for the next month or two. And you know what? I'm going to surprise you today, Jeff. I'm going to actually go ahead and take Patrick Mahomes. You should have heard me last week on the radio when they talked, was Mahomes the issue? And I said, no, it was the defense. Because Mahomes put in his work, he did what he had to do. But the 4 turnovers weren't good in the Chargers game at all. But then he comes back the next week and he redeems himself. You know what I mean? But then once again, he had to show, and we have to see that the Chiefs have to win in a shootout. They can't put up 42 points every single week. So at some point, this defense has to step it up. The defense is terrible right now. And one thing that I kind of question Andy Reid about is that you got a lot of really good defensive players that aren't signed right now, but you decided to sign Josh Gordon, even though you don't really need an offensive help. But you wouldn't sign Josh Gordon. That's like what kids do on Madden. Okay, we got the worst defense, but I'm going to sign another offensive player. All right, so all in all, I'm going to take the Chiefs this week because it's a Sunday night football game, and these games are almost scripted in a sense as well, too. And I think it's still going to be a close game, but it's going to be Mahomes having his Tom Brady moment this week.
The game means so much more to the Chiefs because if they lose this, not only will Buffalo have the tiebreaker if it comes down to that, they'll have a couple-game lead on them. And as you said, usually what happens is when teams are at home and they get fat, they're put on this big spotlight and stage and they lay an egg, okay? But when looking and breaking down these numbers, you talked about the Chiefs and their defense. The under-over opened up at 57. So already they're telling you 30-27, who has the ball last? If you're going to give me a field goal to start with Buffalo, the better defense, and I can buy the hook at 3.5. That's what we did. Listen, you know me and Mahomes and Kansas City. I think they'll still be hanging around come November, December. I'm going to take the slight hotter team plus the field goal and the hook. And like I says, if it lands on 3, well, we cash our ticket. And if Kansas City wins by 1, 2, or 3, you cash your ticket. So we're all going to hold hands, sing Kumbaya, and the final score will be 30-27, and everyone's happy.
All right, sounds good to me, brother. And you know what? One last thing going into that game. With the way the Bills have blown out teams the last 3 weeks, and then if they don't have the mistakes in the second half, because they were kind of building up a blowout on the Steelers as well, too, before everything went to the left. So they've had a double-digit lead in every single game this season. This is something that Kansas City needs to be prepared for, because if Buffalo jumps out to a 14-0 lead, we just go ahead and call it a game. I'm serious. It's Rap City if that happens, because the Bills' defense will be really, really keyed in at that point. All right, let's talk about Monday Night Football. Colts and Ravens. And you know what? This could have been the dog bet of the week, but I didn't want to be that crazy, Jeff. I really like the Colts going into this game. I haven't liked them really going into any game this year, but I like the way that they kept fighting and kept trying in most of the games that they played. And this game is no exception. We have a Ravens team that has not been really good this year against the spread. They're 3-1, but they're 1-3 against the spread. They only covered in one game, and that's when they were they only covered in the game where they were the road, where they were the actual underdog against the Chiefs. You know what I mean? But the other 3 games they did not cover in. They didn't cover the Lions game, and they didn't cover the game last week either. So pretty much, and week 1 Raiders and all that good stuff. So they didn't cover that one either. So pretty much we got a Ravens team. Am I tripping? Let me make sure. Let me double check that, because
Ravens won outright at Denver last week.
Right. So they are actually 2-2. I'm sorry. They're 2-2. So pretty much it was such a low line, though, Jeff. You know what I mean? So they're 2-2 against the spread, because that was literally a pick 'em. But I'm surprised, though. The Ravens are the team that knows how to blow you out and blow you out really fine, too. You know what I mean? But another thing is the Ravens have had one home game this year. And I think that there's going to be a lot of people that overbet this game, and it winds up where the Colts keep it close and then can possibly win the game. We're still getting Wentz in there, right? Tough Wentz.
Yeah.
Wentz is being the toughest guy in the NFL right now. When a guy's being tough and gritty like that, and the Ravens, to me, have not done enough this year. Yeah, they beat up on the Broncos, but Bridgewater got put out the game as well too. So, and it took a while for them to beat on them. I think with what they did last week, the football guys are going to punish them a little bit this week. So I expect the Colts to actually get into this game, jump out early, and make it some drama here. And hopefully we go ahead and they go ahead and cover, but then we get the bonus with them getting a close win here as well too, because they looked really good last week against the Dolphins. And the Dolphins, I think at this point, have a better defense than the Ravens, to be honest with you. They don't have a better offense, but they got a better defense.
This game is tough. I have mixed emotions here because, again, Colts have the toughest start of the season. I think their first 8 games, I mean, there's like 6 or 7 of them that were all playoff teams. And you talk about the Ravens not playing many home games. The only home game they played, they beat Kansas City on a primetime spot. The number at 7's a little scary also, too. I would rather have seen it a lower line. It's almost like Vegas is trying to bait us to the Colts side, because the Ravens are going to come back home. Their defense has been suspect, but they should be able to run the ball okay. And Lamar to Brown last week was a nice law firm. I mean, Brown held on to a few of those passes. I followed your lead, Pops. We took the Colts plus the 7. We bought the hook again to 7.5. So if the Ravens do end up winning, hopefully it's by a touchdown or less. you need the same energy from the Colts. The Colts were in that must-win spot. We really liked them in that spot last week against Miami. And if they got to bring that same energy, play a little keep away, get Taylor going in the running back spot. Wentz stay up on his feet, keep those two taped sore ankles intact, and keep the game close. And I think we got a close one here. I'd lean, maybe 27-24, but we're taking the 7 in the hook here, Pops.
All right, sounds good to me, brother. All right, so that's that. That's a wrap on week 5 right there. I know we went a little bit longer, but we're having some fun because now we have some real football. We got some real numbers going along with what we're talking about, and hopefully everything works out pretty well this week. Me and Jeff are literally kind of on the same page for a lot of these games, but we are on opposites on a lot of these games as well too. So that's why we got 16 games here. So pretty much, Jeff, final thoughts.
It's a good week. It's a good week. We're at the second quarter, guys. So listen, if you had a rough first quarter, Sunday's a new day. Always stay amongst your means. You don't need to get it all back in one swing. Chip away. Between myself and Pops, find some games that you're on the same side with us. And if you're not on the same side, send us a DM and ask us why. I follow numbers. Pops has his own little, Pops and I, we're the dynamic duo here. East meets West, Magic and Larry. And we're here for a reason. We are the true OGs, okay? Our names, our faces, they're the same since 6, 7, 8 years ago. So, listen, enjoy yourselves, cash some tickets, single what you like, and we'll see you next week.
All right, we'll be back for week 6 with bells and whistles ready to roll, and we're gonna have some fun this week as well too. So you guys make sure if you guys need to hit us at all our information is right there as well too. And just know that I'll be putting the show out all week long on the Twitter for YouTube as well too. So don't tell me you missed the show if I'm over here retweeting it and putting it out for you left and right. Okay. So with that, we'll be back next week. And this is the NFL Bet Exchange hosted by the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the Don of Cape Cod, Jeff Dawson, and we are gone.
Thank you for tuning in to the NFL Bet Exchange, where the sharpest bets are laid. This show was produced by the Prime Wave Media Group.